So I've been practicing fasting for over 7 years now, maybe 8. And while it did start off as a physical thing, right, like wanting to fast to lose weight, over the years, and since I began my spiritual awakening over 5 years ago, I came to the understanding of how spiritual and helpful that fasting is within your spiritual awakening, right? So today I want to explain to you why fasting is so important to practice when you're on a spiritual journey, so that you feel comfortable and safe to try it on your own. If you're new here, I'm Sarah, and I created this channel to give you everyday practical ways to build the life of your dreams, to understand yourself and the world around you, and to master yourself, to have more love and joy and beauty in your everyday life. And I do this through self-mastery and spirituality. So right off the bat, I want you to know that fasting is not just, oh, I'm not going to eat today, or however many days you're going to try it, right? It is not taking in any calories from drinks like coffee creamer, okay, or sauces or anything like that have any type of calorie to it. Now, if you want to go deeper, you can do dry fasting, which I don't practice unless I have a photo shoot, and that is for like physical purposes, not spiritual purposes. And there's different lengths of time, right? So just for context, I typically practice intermittent fasting throughout the week. And that also includes one 36 to 42 hour fast a week. And then usually on the weekends, I don't really practice any type of fasting protocol, okay? You just kind of have to experiment and like see what works for you. But over the years, this is the pattern that has worked the best for me. And I am fasting today, which inspired this video. So as someone who has studied many religions and cultures and things like that, I have found that pretty much all of them have fasting in common. Think about how Jesus fasted for 40 days in the desert, or Ramadan being the sacred month of fasting if you are Islamic, or in Hinduism they also have days for fasting, and they're all spiritual reasons, right? And the reason is because when you fast and when you stop consuming calories and bogging your body down, it is easier for divine intellect to be perceived, right? So think about it this way. When you are eating and consuming, you know, whatever beverages that have calories and this and that, you're putting all of this external matter into your body. But when you clear that out, you don't have anything stuck and getting in the way of you connecting with the divine. So what I have found is that my connection with whatever you want to call it, spirit, God, higher consciousness, whatever, is much clearer when I'm mid-fast. So think about it in the sense of, if you're eating, say, 3 meals a day or even more, because I know a lot of times, like especially within the fitness community, they're like, oh, we eat every 2 or 3 hours or whatever. When your body is constantly consuming calories and is constantly working and digesting and doing all the things it's supposed to do, it doesn't have energy to focus elsewhere. So when you fast, your mental clarity becomes much stronger. You will literally feel sharper and more aware and more like, I don't know how to explain it, just like present. And when your body is quiet because it's not busy digesting and doing all of those things, your spirit connection gets louder, right? So like your intuition can increase. You can get much more like vivid dreams. And what I have found is that my meditations are much deeper and flow easier when I am in a fast, because if you've been on my channel for a while, you know that like one of the biggest things I struggle with is meditation. And I have found that on days like today, like I will be able to be more present in the sense of being able to do a longer meditation, because I get really like frazzled when I meditate sometimes, not as much anymore as I used to, but what I've noticed is that when I'm fasting, I can stay in a meditation longer. Also, what's interesting about it is like, I have found I become much more like connected with myself in the sense of like what my own like thoughts and like patterns are. So for example, I'm a really big emotional eater. So if I'm having like a bad day or whatever, like I turn to like comfort foods to comfort myself, I guess, and distract myself. But when, say a day like that happens today, right? Say I'm like having a really bad day, but I decide to fast today, instead of turning to food and eating the chocolate or the soup or whatever it is, I have to deal with it, right? And so it gives you a lot more clarity and insight to your own behavior, and you're not giving yourself the ability to distract from them. And what's cool about that is I didn't realize that I was an emotional eater until I started fasting. You can't notice those patterns when you're not aware of them and you're not certain of them. So when you remove that, the stimuli of food or juices or alcohol or whatever it is, you're forced to notice them. And when you do that, like I've said so many times before, and you have that awareness, then you have the ability to free yourself from them. So over the years, once I learned this about myself, and I'm not saying anyone's perfect, there's plenty of times I give in to emotional eating, like I'm a human being, you know? But there are times now that I'm aware of it that I can make the choice. Like, do I want to give in to this right now? And sometimes I'm like, yeah, I do. And other times I'm like, nah, I don't need to. That's just me trying to distract myself from whatever it is I'm feeling or should deal with or whatever. So that's a really cool aspect of it. And then there's also like your energy body. So in essence, like your vibrational field, right? I don't freaking know how big it is. I mean, I've read studies where it's like about 6 feet out is kind of like what your vibrational field is, or, you know, a little smaller. You know, you obviously have your chakras and things like that. And what happens when you fast and your body's not busy, like I said earlier, like digesting and all that stuff, all of those things become less congested, right? So your chakras can kind of like loosen a little bit. And a lot of times your third eye can activate when you are fasting, because it's not convoluted with all of this stuff that's going in and that your body's doing all of that. So a lot of times people, when I mentioned earlier about having better like dreams and visions and things like that, that's why. There's easier fluid access to your third eye. And lastly, and this one I realized like pretty early on into my spiritual awakening, especially because I'd already been practicing fasting for a few years at that point. Your vibration can increase and your senses can increase, right? Like your vision and your smell and all of these things, because food and calories, all these things are dense, right? So it's more mass, it's more energy that's being put into your body. And so when you release your body of those things, you actually feel lighter. And I don't mean in the sense of like, oh, losing weight, like physically, although that's a really nice side benefit too. But you genuinely feel lighter. All right, but it is a practice, and so I would never recommend that someone go straight into like a 24-hour fast or a 72-hour fast. It's something that is a practice that you kind of work up to. I mean, me myself, I don't think I've ever done more than 72 hours, but I did do an interview with a friend of mine who did I think he did a 30-day fast. I'll post that video here if you want to check that out. That's with my friend Tyrone. This is why in a lot of these cultures and religions and things like that, that people will describe feeling closer to source or God or whoever when they're in a fast, is because they're literally vibrating higher. So they probably are vibrating closer to that divine frequency. And truthfully, I think there's a lot more benefits outside of just those spiritual components that go with fasting, because obviously it's funny because fasting requires discipline, but it also doesn't, in the sense that like all you have to do is like not eat, It's not like discipline as far as like, oh, I have to wake up and I have to go to the gym or go to brush my teeth or go do this. It's like you just have to like have the discipline of not doing something. And it teaches you that, because people say to me all the time, like, oh, I could never do that, or you're not hungry, blah, blah, blah. I hear it all the time. I have for years. You realize that the hunger passes and the discomfort passes and the weird feeling of uncertainty kind of passes. And what it has shown me is that all of those things are temporary. So if you take that lesson and apply it throughout your life, you realize that, you know, sometimes in the moment we get so like, like if you're in the middle of a fast and you start to get like the hunger pangs and you wait it out, they go away like pretty quickly. It's not like you're sitting there in like pain, like starving for like hours. Like you're not, you know, it goes away in a few minutes, right? And so if you take that and apply it to other things in your life that feel tough and uncomfortable and that you don't want to sit with, it's like, oh wait, this is going to pass. It feels like a big deal in the moment, but it's not. You can embody the lessons you receive through fasting throughout the other, you know, aspects of your life. And not only that, side super random benefit, but like you save so much time. Like, do you know how much time we put in a day and like thinking about meals and how are we gonna eat and where are we gonna get our next meal and are we gonna cook, are we gonna go to the grocery store? You just like get all that time back in the day. Why do you think I have time to sit down and film a video today? You know what I mean? Now, aside from like all of the spiritual aspects of fasting, there's a lot of physical benefits for your body as well. It can reduce inflammation, it can balance your hormones, it can literally renew your cells. Fasting gives your body the ability to repair itself. I will say fasting is not for everyone, and there are certain medical reasons that a person might not be fit for fasting. So like I would recommend talking to like a doctor or someone that you trust like that if you have any like conditions. But aside from that, if you feel like you want to give fasting a go, I would highly recommend you test out intermittent fasting first, maybe Monday through Thursday, Monday through Friday. And that is essentially like, I recommend that minimum you do what's called a 16-8 split, where you eat food for 8 hours and you fast for 16. So an example of this could be you eat from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and then you fast 6 p.m. to 10 a.m. the next day, and you just get into that cycle. And then you can start spreading that out. So instead of doing like a 16-8, you could do an 18-6, and you keep shortening that food window until you get to 24 hours. And then once you do 24 hours, you don't have to necessarily push to 36. Maybe try 26 or 28. And just like with anything else, it is a practice and something that becomes much easier with time. You know, I go to these music festivals and I don't eat a ton while I'm there, and people are like, I don't understand why you like don't eat more. And I'm like, I'm so used to fasting that it just doesn't bother me. Like, not eating doesn't bother me the way that it does other people, and I don't rely on food as much as like your average person does. But a lot of that is consumerism, and you know, that's a whole other video. We could talk about that. But either way, if you guys do have any questions, put them in the comments below. I will certainly get back to you. I'm very passionate about fasting, and I think it's beneficial for most people. If you found value in this video, please don't forget to subscribe so we can hang out again next week. I love you guys so much, and don't forget, be limitlessly yourself.